Hello, my name is Milad Al-Saad. I am a member of JLB Productions and one of the directors of the movie The Chase. In this video, I will be responding to the question, how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? In the background, I will be showing some of my gameplay from the video game UFC 5. Firstly, my media product is the opening to a film, and the genre of my film is primarily crime with slight elements of horror. To start, the first convention I used in my product is low lighting and darkness, which is a very common theme in both crime and horror films. Dark lighting is often used in these genres to create a sense of tension, mystery, and eeriness for the audience. A specific example of this in my film occurs in the opening scene, when the young boy is playing soccer alone at the park and it is late at night, and you can see how he is isolated from everyone else. I followed this convention by intentionally filming this scene at nighttime when it was very dark, especially considering the lights at the park were off and that there were no people around. The scene begins with an unsettling and eerie feeling. This use of low lighting helps emphasize the isolation of the boy, and it makes the audience feel that something dangerous is probably going to happen at any moment. The darkness also limits what the audience can see, so that builds tension for the viewers and makes them uncertain about what may be coming and what might be hidden. This technique is commonly used in horror films, and it makes audiences feel uncomfortable and alert. As a result, the audience is more inclined and focused on the movie, and the low lighting establishes the tone of the scene and prepares the audience for what comes next. The second convention I used in my film is the presence of a crime being committed, which is a key convention in the genre of crime. Crime films usually revolve around one or a series of criminal acts that drive the story forward. In my film, this convention is shown when the masked killer appears and stabs a young victim. This moment introduces the main conflict of the story and establishes the masked killer as the antagonist. The reason I use this convention was because it will capture the audience's attention and create feelings of shock, surprise, and fear. The attack contrasts with the boy being isolated in the park in darkness. Because the audience sees the boy as unaware and vulnerable, the sudden appearance of the masked killer makes it disturbing. The scene also creates narrative questions for the audience, making them question who the killer is and why they committed the crime. By introducing the crime early in the film, it encourages viewers to continue watching in order to see how the story progresses. The third convention I use in my film is the leading detective as a protagonist. This is a common theme in crime movies, and mainly crime narratives. A detective takes on the role of the main character who attempts to solve the case. In my film, the detective is the protagonist and is dedicated but a messy detective who is responsible for investigating the case of a mass killer in a small town. The story revolves around the detective following leads and trying to uncover the identity of the killer. Throughout the story, tension and excitement are created because the audience follows his progress and wonders if he will solve the case. The detective is portrayed as intelligent and passionate, but also messy and easily frustrated. This makes him feel more realistic and relatable rather than a perfect hero. In addition to conventions, my film also represents an important social issue, which is people becoming so dedicated to their profession or passion that it begins to negatively affect their personal health and well-being. This idea is represented through the way our detective is characterized. Even though he's extremely committed to solving the case, this causes him to neglect his own well-being and personal health, which you can see in the office scene where he gets frustrated and starts destroying the items. We use several elements of mise-en-scène to communicate this characterization of our detective, such as the bottle of prescription medication that you can see on his desk in the office. You can also see his workspace is messy and disorganized. Sounds were also used to show what kind of character our detective was. For an example, the audience hears the detective sighing before he gets frustrated and starts destroying everything in his office. We made these choices to help the audience understand that the detective was someone who was brilliant and determined, but also struggling with his own self, and that he would face his own consequences of his own actions due to being too passionate about what he does. In the film, we reinforce multiple stereotypes commonly seen in crime and horror genre themes. One stereotype is a lonely male detective who is very committed and very good at his work. Another stereotype is a masked killer, which is very common in horror films, as his identity creates fear and suspense because it is hidden. Even though these stereotypes are common, they are effective because it allows the audience to become familiar with what message the movie is delivering. This helps viewers quickly understand the characters and direction of the story as they're able to predict what would happen next. Overall, my film opening uses several key conventions of the crime and horror genres. Thank you for watching.